Here's another favorite of the philosophers, those who are self-aware. They go like this. We're not only in the world, aware of the world, and aware of what happens to us, and what happens to us matters to us. We know we're in the world. We're aware of being in the world. We're aware of ourselves being in the world. We're self-aware beings. Other animals aren't. Therefore, we have rights and they don't. Something like that. Well, I can only tell you that, I mean, there's this controversy about whether some animals are self-aware. There are these mere things with some non-human primates and other sorts of things. I personally think animals are self-aware, and I have an argument to that effect in the case for animal rights. Any animal is able to act intentionally. An animal says, I'm going to do this now in order to get that in the future, even if it's a short future. I'm going to do this now in order to get this banana that I want, is able to say, I'm going to be the person, I'm going to be the one that gets a banana in the future. And that requires self-awareness, it seems to me. But even if it is the case that animals aren't self-aware, there are a lot of human beings who aren't self-aware. And again, you can raise a standard that animals are not going to meet if you want to. But a lot of human beings are not going to meet it either. Or you can say, those who have immortal souls. I always love this. I have to say, I've always said too, I hope I have an immortal soul. I think that would be delightful. I mean, it'd be just really interesting to see what happens after this life. I mean, it would really kind of be interesting. It'd be more interesting than not seeing what happens after this life. So I would think so. I mean, I'm all in favor of immortal souls. But it's obviously here you're just making things more difficult for trying to defend the difference between animals and human beings. It seems to me to bring in these kinds of issues that are so unsettled and so uncertain. That doesn't seem to really ground the opposition to animal rights very, very well. Plus, I always like to mention this argument of C.S. Lewis's, who is C.S. Lewis, of course, is one of the great Christian theologians of the 20th century. A really wonderful thinker. And so Lewis says, you know, I actually do think that animals don't have immortal souls. I think human beings are unique and have immortal souls, and that's why I'm an anti-vivisectionist. What? He says, yes, that's why I'm an anti-vivisectionist. They don't have immortal souls. That means that there's nothing that's going to happen after they die that's going to make up for any bad that they experienced in this life. You and I, on the other hand, I mean, we die and then good things happen to us. But animals, they die and nothing happens to them. It's annihilation. So that means that the bad stuff that happens to them is not going to be made up for in the future. That means that instead of doing bad stuff for them now, we should do all the good stuff we can for them. That means we should get them out of labs, for example. They don't belong there. No Christian should tolerate vivisection. I think the idea is the most plausible view is this notion of being a subject of a life, the thing I was talking about earlier, being in the world, aware of the world, aware of what happens to you matters to you, your story unfolding, you're somebody. You have a little story going on here. It's called your little biography is going on here. You're a dog, you're a cat, or a human being. That seems the most plausible. That's what children are like. That's what the mentally disabled are like. It's not like we're saying anything excluding them. It seems to me that that's going to end up being the most adequate thing. If that's the most adequate way of thinking about the foundations of rights, not rational autonomy, not self-aware, not immortal souls, but who's a somebody rather than the something, then animals have rights, including the right to life, right to bodily integrity, most fundamentally the right to be respected. People object to this. They say, look, animals don't respect, don't understand rights. Yeah, they say, oh, they don't understand rights. You go home and you get your dog. Really, you go home and you get your cat. Or you go home and you look at your gerbil and have a conversation and say, what's your opinion about rights? Some people think they're valid claims. Others think they're entitlements. You understand, there's some are legal and some are more. They're not going to get it. They don't understand. So they say, well, and since they don't understand it, they don't have any. It's, to me, that's as silly as saying, go home and talk to your dog about genes, genetic makeup, and see what you get from them, and see if they say, well, I'm not sure about recombinant DNA, and they're not going to get it. You say, well, they don't have any genes then either. They don't understand. They don't understand that they don't have it. That's just the most absurd idea, it seems to me, to think that you have to understand something in order to have it. Oh, animals don't respect our rights. Well, it's like, what, the cows are running through Boulder? The pigs are coming down from up north invading Boulder. It looks to me like animals aren't doing it. I guess what people have in mind here is something like, well, I was once walking across the Serengeti, and wouldn't you know, a lion came charging at me. Well, I guess what I want to say in something like that is that is really something more sophisticated, more philosophical than just saying pigs invading from the north. And it is that it is true that our animals can do things that are harmful to us, and that sometimes happens, and sometimes tragically so. Animals do things that are harmful to us. But animals are incapable of violating our rights, because animals are not morally responsible for what they do. Any more than a one-year-old child who accidentally fires a revolver and kills their mother is morally responsible for the murder. Doesn't understand, is not morally responsible. Only morally responsible agents can violate somebody's rights. So animals can do things that are harmful to us, but of course they can't violate or respect our rights. It makes no sense. They don't respect one another's rights. Look at the lion and the wildebeest. Oh, it's not like the lion, but the same kinds of considerations apply here. Animals are not appropriate thinking this way because they're not morally responsible agents. And then somebody will say, well, look, if some animals, then all animals have rights. Amoeba have rights. Paramecia have rights. Or where's paramecia liberation? Stop the paramecia lab. So in other words, the idea is that we'll reduce the position to absurdity. But you're not committed to that. You may believe that, but you're not committed to it. The point is this. We don't have sufficiently good reason to believe that some animals have the physical complexity that supports consciousness of the world. They don't have an anatomy and a physiology that suggests that they're aware of the world, in the world, aware of the world, aware of what happens to them in life. So you're not committed to that. You may believe it, but you're not committed to it. This is where people say, what about roaches? What about, well, I'm sorry, but I don't think roaches are subjectively present in the world in the way that I think other animals are. But again, other people might disagree with that. The practical implications, as you're well aware, if rights are trumped, that notion of trump, if the respect for the rights of the individual more important than any obligation we have to benefit society at large in particular, then violence to animals is wrong even if we benefit. And it applies to what we eat, it applies to what we wear, what we learn, and what we do for fun. It applies to virtually every aspect of our life. Every aspect, virtually. Tens of millions of animals are killed every year for their fur. Hundreds of millions of animals suffer and die in laboratories. Some people say about 500 every minute, every day. As mentioned earlier, 10 billion animals are slaughtered each year just in America. Nobody really knows how many worldwide. 19,000 a minute. 19,000 a minute. It's like astronomy. Like people talking about light years or something. Hard to get a handle on. Why are animal rights important? Because if animals have rights, as I believe they do, none of this should be happening. Thank you.
Find out more about animal rights by reading the works of Tom Regan, including his latest book, Defending Animal Rights, available through your local bookstore. Rocky Mountain Animal Defense's mission is to help eliminate the human-imposed suffering of animals in the Rocky Mountain region. If you would like to assist in public education, research and investigation, on-the-ground assistance, or legal efforts, please contact us. Or, for more information, please visit our website at armad.org.